This week on Gymwright Live, we interview Dennis Timpanaro of Gotivation, and we're going to learn how you can motivate your members to get better results in your gym. Check it out. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Gymwright Live. I am your host, Marcus Guerzi, and with me today we have Dennis Timpanaro. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing great, Marcus. Thanks for having me on.
It's such a pleasure to have you on, and really enjoyed chatting with you before the show here. A ton of great energy and lots of really good stuff to talk about today. And before we get into the subject today, I want to talk a little bit about you and your story, man. You are the founder and CEO of Gotivation, a messaging platform to help gym owners motivate their members. And you are also a gentleman who has competed in the 2016 U.S. Olympic trials, former world-ranked archer, and actually on your way to basically try to get into the next Olympics as well, right?
I hope so, man. I hope Tokyo's got a spot for me. Still some work to do, but we'll keep going at it.
I can imagine. Tell us a little bit more about you, man. You've had an interesting story. Former global director at McDonald's Corp. Tell us a little bit about your story, man.
Yeah, it has not been a very linear path. I followed a number of different interests, but I was from the consulting background. I did actually nothing to do with fitness or technology for a number of years. I was in purchasing and supply chain. But I was a corporate director at McDonald's the last number of years, doing the corporate job, working with a lot of franchisees and owner-operators. So a little bit of a connection there as well. And going back, I did everything from, traveling around the country, doing projects for clients when I was a consultant, to volunteering as an archery coach as well. So it's been a unique path, and I think all those little different things you pick up from unique areas help form who you are today. So wouldn't have done it any other way.
No question, man. So obviously motivation is the whole concept behind Gotivation. Tell us a little bit more about the Gotivation platform and how that came to be.
Yeah, so Gotivation is a messaging platform for owners, trainers, and coaches. It helps motivate clients and new leads too, right, to eventually turn them into either new customers or more motivated customers and members that are going to get better results. So we actually, we were talking about it a few moments ago, but followed a process to try to figure out where do owners and trainers need the most help. And we interviewed hundreds of them over the last couple of years here to figure out they need help connecting, they need help motivating because they've got the other tools. So Gotivation came to be about 6 months ago from a kind of, I'd call it a finalized platform. And then we've been doing all the announcements to get that out and try to help more people in just the last couple months here.
Awesome. Very good, man. Well, and for those of you watching, if you haven't checked it out before, it is a newer thing, but go check it out. And that's at gotivation.co. Is that right?
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. I think you guys have a free trial there to check out to kind of take it for a test run. But from what I understand, you this has been developed not just with your research and working and interviewing with different trainers and owners and whatnot, but also you're actually working with psychologists and figuring out what actually really gets people to take action. And for us in the gym business, we can have a great product and a great facility, and that does account for quite a bit. But at the end of the day, how do we get our members to be genuinely motivated? That's a question we ask ourselves regularly because oftentimes you'll think you're making a bunch of progress with someone and all of a sudden the motivation just drops off. So I'm excited to dig into that with you here today. So speaking of which, so what we're going to talk about today is, how much business are you leaving on the table by not understanding your client's motivational personality and charge? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think the headline there is, have you heard the quote, fitness success is 90% motivation and 10% training?
I have.
Yeah, I don't know who actually penned that quote. It's probably not a scientific study. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it wasn't a research study.
Yeah.
But it feels so true nowadays, right? With the proliferation of free training videos, right? Thousands of online guides. Yeah. There's self-help books. There's subscriptions you can get. The content is out there, right? The training, the nutrition plans, the guides are out there.
It's all there.
What's missing for most people is the motivation, right? And the motivation for a gym owner means a difference of Is a new client, is a qualified lead going to walk through your door? Are they motivated enough to even start? Or do you have someone you're already working with that's a member? And are they going to go above and beyond to either put in the work to get the results you want, or maybe upgrade to a personal training service in your gym?
Yep.
So there's a lot of retention. There's a lot of new clients. All of that boils down to how much business you're leaving on the table if you don't have that motivation piece of the pie kind of figured out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges for a gym owner is keeping the motivation going, right? Because we get people who, respond to an advertisement or come in via referral or whatever means, and they have enough motivation to get it started because whatever that pain point is for them in their life that enabled them to take that initial action, that is going to be enough to get you started and maybe even get you into the first month or two. But the challenge is maintaining motivation and reinvigorating that motivation as people continue to go, to get it long enough to where the actual process of coming into the gym and being a part of the community and the results really takes hold. And then you have a new sense of motivation. But how did you guys approach that?
We'll talk about it a lot through the discussion today, but I've always felt motivation isn't this, everyone's got a different concept of motivation. Mm-hmm. Motivation to me is not this bolt of lightning. It's not an on-off switch where it's like, hey, I'm motivated. Let's go. We're going to do this, right? And you stay motivated. It's not like that. It's more like a battery. And that's the analogy, and that's what we use in Gotivation to actually convey someone's level of motivation back to them. Mm-hmm. And that's the key, right? Getting started, you need to kind of overcome that initial friction, which, we'll share a little bit about how you do that too. Mm-hmm. But then once you're going, that's going to fluctuate over time. And as a owner or as a trainer, you got to figure out ways to keep them more charged, keep that battery in the green, so to speak, so that they stick with the training, they stick with the nutrition plans, and they keep coming back. They keep renewing their membership.
Yeah. Awesome. Another point I have here for us is discuss the different variables that affect client motivation and what it means for a gym owner or studio owner. Why does motivation matter for a gym owner? What traits and forms of motivation are most important? What are the different motivational personalities and how can they make trainers more effective? And how do you know if a client is actually even motivated, right? So those are some serious talking points here for us to get into. So before we really kind of pop the hood and get into the discussion here, why should a gym owner care about this?
It really boils down to their business, right? If you've got, we talked about that baseline, if you've got clean facilities, you've got a great staff, you've got the right classes and programs, if you've got all those building blocks in place, you've got the foundation ready. At that point, getting new clients, retaining them longer, getting them good results is all about motivation. And all of those things are directly related to your revenue. So if that's something you're focusing on right now, trying to build up your clientele and trying to keep them there longer without all the turnover after, February 1st, motivation is where I would spend my time. That's where I'd spend most of my time now.
Awesome. Very good. All right. So let's get into it. Where do we begin?
I love talking about what the heck is motivation to begin with, because there's so many different opinions on it. I think everybody at a high level generally knows what motivation is, right? This isn't, let's explain what motivation is to me. We all have our personal experiences with it, right? We know when we were motivated to either start your business or work out or have children. Whatever it is, we know when we are motivated and we know when we're not. Yeah. But if you go one level under and you start to talk about how people are actually motivated, most of the trainers and owners I speak to have really different points of view. I'll share a little story. So this was maybe like spring of last year, right? We were kind of going through our research process to figure out what should we build in Gotivation. And there was a customer of ours who's an online trainer, and she was super excited about the motivational aspect of what Gotivation could do, right? Mm-hmm. She said, I think it could motivate my clients. I think it could keep them coming back. This could be really neat. Let's do it. So I said, why don't you go ask some other people? She's got a network of trainers and coaches she works with. Go ask and see what they think about it. Mm-hmm. And she goes to 3 of her colleagues. The first colleague comes back, who's an online fitness coach. And of course, her first comment was, motivation, isn't that just a bunch of stupid memes? It's one way to look at it. Sure. Yeah. Hurts a little bit, but the second fitness coach came back and said, I love motivation. I like daily inspiration. It feeds me. It helps me grow, more of the inspirational type angle on it. And then the third one ended up telling us, yeah, it sounds cool, but my motivation's internal, guys. I don't need any stupid motivation. I got this, right? So we got 4 different trainers, 4 different definitions of motivation. Only one of them understood that it was, something they can use with their clients and members to help them out. Mm-hmm. And it really opened my eyes that there was not much consensus on what and how to motivate someone. So I think that was the first step of saying we need to become more clear on how do you motivate somebody? What are the things we need to look for? The traits, the forms, maybe the application of it. So we started kind of at square one there.
Interesting. So I think a lot of people look at that and probably everyone listening here probably has a slightly different version of what that means to them. So how have you guys nailed it down and really clarified this to where everyone can kind of meet at the same point on what it means?
Yeah, it really boils down to it's behavioral science, it's motivational psychology. You need to understand what some of the traits are that drive people, right? Kind of behind the scenes there. So what we did was I'm not a psychologist by trade. I love motivation. I love mental training, right? Based on archery and some of the lessons I got.
Sure.
But we brought on some people that were a lot smarter than me, probably better looking too. And they helped us figure out what mattered, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually a number of traits that go hand in hand with staying motivated. There's a lot of them, but we kind of boiled it down to about 5. Especially when it comes to fitness, these 5 matter. So the first one is called conscientiousness. And that's a long psychology term for hard worker. They would just call it what it is. Mm-hmm. But a conscientious trait it's found in people that generally work hard. They pay attention to detail. They show up on time, right? They're punctual, and they put in the extra effort. So if you say, Marcus, if you're like, hey, every day I work out at 7 o'clock when the kids go to sleep, and you stick to that schedule every day, you're probably a pretty conscientious guy. Mm-hmm. A next one is grit. So Grit, which is also a really good book by Angela Duckworth, if you've seen that before. Mm-hmm. Grit is kind of a narrow focus, right? Grit are people that don't give up. They get knocked down, maybe they lose, maybe they gain weight, maybe they get injured or sick, and they keep coming back, right? They don't stop. How it differentiates from conscientiousness. A conscientious person is kind of a hard worker and disciplined at everything. A gritty person is super narrow, and they say, I'm going to, kick ass at one thing, and nothing's going to stop me till I get there. Mm-hmm. So very, very focused human being.
Okay.
Self-control is the next one. So I think we all know what self-control is. It's putting off temporary pleasure, be it liquid or solid or relaxing, to pursue your longer goal. Okay. Locus of Control is another one that doesn't get talked about a lot, but is actually really interesting. So locus of control is kind of your belief or your agency in a situation. People that say, oh, the world's out to get me. Nothing seems to be going right in my life. They have a external locus of control, right? Somebody else is controlling them. The world is after them. Their boss sucks. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, they don't have control. Someone that says, you know what? I'm going to play the cards I'm dealt, and I'm going to play them the best I can, has an internal locus of control. So they feel like they're in control of the situation. And then last but not least is kind of a group versus individual preference. There's been a number of studies out there that show some people, I don't know if it's correlated to, introversion or extroversion, but some people really get motivated and excited to do group stuff. You've probably seen them in your gyms, right? Mm-hmm. They want to sign up for all the classes. They want to do the big challenges together. Others are just like, put me on my bike. I'm just going to log my miles. I'm going to track my program. I'm going to go home and be quiet about it. They like to do it solo.
Yep.
The key is, right, so that's a lot of nerdy stuff that I don't expect everybody to remember. But the key takeaway is for an owner or a trainer, you need to support your members' strengths. I'll say it one more time. So you need to think about, it's a little bit opposite of what a lot of people think. You need to play to their strengths, not try to boost up their weaknesses. And I learned that a few years back through archery, actually. if you're trying to take someone that has really low self-control, like me, I don't know, maybe it's higher, but if you're trying to put control on me to say, hey, you know what? Block all these bad foods out of your diet. Don't go have a drink on the weekend. It's not going to work. I'm going to rebel against it and actually fail because you're not helping me where I'm already good. If you're working with someone that is very disciplined, right? Someone that has a lot of conscientiousness, motivate them with maybe like an attendance award, right? Or a shout out on social media of how hard they're working in your gym. That's the stuff that's going to support what they're good at and keep them motivated and keep them going. Just don't go to the flip side and try to tell low self-control members, hey, join our no ice cream for a month challenge. That is not, it's not going to motivate them. It's not going to go well.
That's interesting. And I bet you a pretty big shift from how most of the people listening to this probably look at this, because I know even for myself, when I'm thinking of training an individual, especially for the majority of our people here who are in the CrossFit or functional space, it is all about attacking weaknesses. It's about identify them and go after them aggressively. And although, the longer you do it, you realize the balance between, leveraging their strengths while also tackling the weaknesses. You don't want to go too hard because it'll blow some people out. But at the end of the day, we tend to build that into our practice almost of how we coach people. And even though maybe from a programming standpoint, that would be a way to do it, when it comes down to the psychological aspect, you've got to take a backwards approach. That's what it sounds like.
You nailed it, man. And I think I've had that fallacy for a number of years, because when it comes to the physical aspect, the programming, the nutrition, you do want to work on weak spots, especially if you're working with not just Gen Pop, but if you're working with athletes that are competing, right? Archery, not the most, stressful sport, but there's a lot of aspects where they say, look, you need to work on your finger position, right? How's your strength in your second finger? That's really micro-targeting what you're practicing and being deliberate, because I want to work on that. That's a weakness. Right. When you flip over to the mental side or the motivational side, it doesn't work that way. And I didn't know that for the longest time either. So better late than never, and we're trying to apply it the right way.
Yeah, this makes me think of about 1,000 instances where I probably could have done it better in my career.
We're all learning.
Yeah. Okay, so we identified the 5 different motivational types. What's next?
Yeah. So once you know a little bit about those types, you can actually translate them into what we call a motivational personality. And it's a unique categorization that we came up with at Gotivation. Let me think how to describe it. It's has anyone taken like an online personality test? Have you ever done one of those?
Many times. We actually have all of our new clients are required to take those.
Perfect. So whether it's like an enrollment form or which Kardashian are you most like? Sorry, BuzzFeed.
Kim.
I'm not here
totally
to judge, but Marcus, I'm just saying. Whatever it is, right? It's that style of personality test, and instead of getting information back about softer things, you learn what does and what does not motivate you. Mm-hmm. And for us, when we were talking to coaches up front, they said, if you could tell me what people are thinking, that would mean a lot to me. That would mean a lot, because I don't see, if you have a physical studio or a gym, you don't see people more than a couple hours a week. And if they don't have a one-on-one relationship with a trainer, you certainly don't have that interaction. Right. And we also work with a lot of online owners and trainers of small businesses. Sure. So now you never see them, right? They're always away from you. Mm-hmm. It's really powerful for a couple of reasons, but there's this story I always like to tell about the golden rule. And when I was back in kindergarten, my teacher, who I'm pretty sure, I've said this story a few times, but I'm pretty sure her name is Mrs. Lambert. She's going to be mad if it wasn't that, but I'm pretty sure it was Mrs. Lambert.
Yeah. She
taught me the golden rule, right? And I think, everybody probably knows the golden rule. It's treat others as you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. And, for me, that was a really big thing when I was a little dude. I'm like, wow, I just got to treat other people like me, and they'll like me, and we'll be good friends. So, 25 years pass, and I turned 31, and I'm at this leadership training conference. And out of left field, the instructor goes, golden rule, totally wrong. And I'm sitting there like,
Go
what
on.
the hell are you talking about? What do you mean the golden rule is
Tell
wrong?
me more.
How dare you speak ill of Mrs. Lambert, right? You're crazy.
She's going to be so disappointed.
She's pissed somewhere right now. But then she followed up, right? She got us on the hook and she followed up and he goes, do you know why the golden rule is wrong? It's because you should be treating people as they want to be treated, not as you want to be treated. And that one little word, right? The they versus the you, I think that changes the entire perspective on what it means.
100%.
Yeah, it's not radical, but it changes your thinking, right? Everyone's different. We're introverted versus extroverted. We have different backgrounds, different motivations, learning styles. If we're treating everybody like ourselves, and I learned this the hard way at my job too a couple times, then we're not connecting with people. We're not actually teaching them well and coaching them well. So we made Motivational Personalities to help owners and coaches figure out how do people want to be treated and how can you do a better job of coaching and motivating them.
Interesting. So obviously you guys have a process for this. And I think you said with Gotivation, it's a survey mechanism where you actually learn and identify what their personality type is. But what kinds of things are you doing to now engage with these different personality types?
Yeah. So we use, I'm going a little bit all over the place here, but we use Facebook Messenger. We're a messaging platform and we connect directly to Messenger because that's where people seem to spend all of their time. About a half an hour a day, people are messaging back and forth. So we use Messenger to do the interaction, but much like you said, if you're going to do this on your own, whether using Gotivation, you've got your enrollment form or Google Forms, whatever works for you guys, start off with that survey. We do it through Messenger. You can click little button here. Where's my phone? Right? You can literally just hit buttons and say, this is my personality. This is how often I like to work out. What would I do in this situation? I prefer this type of trainer and things like that. And then it builds this profile up, this motivational personality of each user. And that allows us as Gotivation to then customize and pick the right types of messages for them. So no generic blast of, hang in there, you'll get it, guys. That's not going to register with a lot of people. Yeah. We actually pinpoint, all right, this person has a lot of grit. Let's find messages. Let's find infographics. Let's find affirmations that support grit and build them up there. So the different, I guess the example I'd give if you're a gym owner, right? Think about it from this perspective. You've got maybe 2 prospective clients, 2 warm leads that you want to get into your gym. They're both maybe postpartum mothers, which is very near and dear to me because my wife is 2 months away from being a postpartum mom again.
Yes, sir.
You can appreciate as well.
Yeah, I'm 3 months post now myself for number 2.
Yeah, so you know what it's like.
Yeah.
And they both fill out a form and they go, hey, what's your goal? And they say, I want to get back in shape, both of them. Okay, so that makes sense. What they probably don't tell you because it's in their subconscious is the first customer wants to get back in shape because she kind of wants to show off, right? She wants to go to the beach. She's going on a trip in 6 months. She's really motivated by the achievement in getting in shape, right? She wants people to maybe give her compliments or send likes on Facebook. Oh, you look great at the beach. You really rebounded well from your pregnancy.
Right.
The second customer might just want to feel more confident, right, in her own skin, looking in the mirror, waking up every morning and saying, I'm happy with who I am. And she doesn't tell you that, but that's just her internal drive there.
Sure.
So as an owner, if you're going out and trying to motivate them and you say, hey, look, I want to put up a challenge that if you come and buy a month pass and you share your before and your after selfie when everything's all done to show the results, you're going to have a chance to win a free year membership. So based on that original goal, which sounds like, hey, they both would like this. They want to get in shape. That first client who wants to go to the beach, going to love it. She's going to be like, yeah, I can't wait to show even more people how much I kick ass in 30 days. Of course, I'll show you my before. Of course, I'll show you my after. And then where's my free membership, please?
Right.
That second person is going to be terrified. She's going to be petrified. She doesn't want to do that. She wants nothing to do with showing what she looks like before or after. This is for her self-confidence, and it's very personal, and that's not going to drive her. So we took that concept and turned it into, if I'm rambling, please,
No,
put
go
me
on.
back.
This is the good stuff. Go on.
Sure, man. We took that concept, right? How everyone is different at heart and has different motivations and traits that they play to it, and we built out something called Motivational Personality. And there's 4 main personalities and a couple of sub variations to help you out. But if you go look, I think there's a few pictures up on our social. If you go to our Instagram handle and take a look, you can see all the different avatars.
Okay.
The first is disciplined doer.
Okay.
So a disciplined doer is a very dedicated, detail-oriented, conscientious person. They don't quit. They've got awesome self-control. I dare say they're a type A, if that's a real thing. I'm not sure if type A's truly exist.
Depends who you're asking.
Yeah, if somebody knows, please let me know. But that's what these people are closest to. You give them a goal, and they go smash the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. Good people to have if you've got them in your gym. The next one is called a laid-back learner. This is going to be your most casual of members. They're looking for enjoyment first, and health benefits a distant second, right? They tend to wait around for a good time to start. So it's, today's not the right day to get started. It's not the right month to get started. Things are busy right now. Sometimes they wait a little bit too long and, kind of sit on the fence waiting for that perfect second that never comes in your life.
Okay. I can think of a few. Go on.
I'm sure we get a lot of them. They may not even be at a gym or a studio right now, most likely. Sure. The next is a partial perfectionist. So they're kind of a mix of a couple different things. If they had one tagline, it would be work hard, play hard. Mm-hmm. So when they're on a program, they'll kick ass during the week, they'll hit their goals, they'll eat their food, they'll log their miles, and then they'll go out and have some fun on the weekend, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe for a month. They might take a vacation for a month. So they're kind of either in it to win it, or they're out taking a break. There's no in between.
Yep.
And then the last but not least is the self-controlled spectator. I like to think of them as the discerning type. So they've got a lot of self-control. They believe in the power of choice, right? They have a lot of agency, and they take responsibility for all their choices and decisions, which can be good if they decide to come to your gym and stick with your plan. It can be really bad if they feel like it's not for them, right? They'll just refuse to go do it. I'm not going to be sold to. I don't believe all the hype or your supplements or all that stuff. They'll just sit and judge.
Right.
So interesting points of views on those 4. The last little nugget there is, so you've got these 4 different main personalities, but there's 2 other little factors that people need to consider when if you're building your own survey using Gotivation, think about these things up front. The first is something we call the plus A. So you could be a disciplined doer plus A. And a plus A is an individual that's driven by achievements, right? We talked about the mom who wants to look good on the beach, or maybe they want to run a marathon, or again, just get a bunch of likes on Instagram. Whatever it is, that's their goal. Mm-hmm. They want an achievement, and that drives them. They're thinking about the prize.
Right.
On the other side of the spectrum, because it's a linear spectrum with this one, is a plus 2. And a plus 2 is a person that's driven more by fear. So a fear could be, I'm actually a little more plus 2, ironically. So fear could be, look, I want to go to this race. I just don't want to get last place. That would be super embarrassing. Or I want to sign up for a program, but I don't want to still be overweight in 3 months and see my friends and have them judge me, right? Or for me, right, with Gotivation, I want to make something that doesn't suck. I don't want someone to come back like, yeah, Dennis, I tried that, totally sucked. Mm-hmm. That's driven by fear, to avoid something bad.
Okay.
We could talk a lot more about that. Probably not today, but that's a very interesting topic of what to do with those 2 different forms of motivation.
So we have plus A, we have plus 2.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that's it. So you've got the 4 personalities, and they can have either a plus A or a plus 2, and that's how you really start to understand each person as a unique individual and what drives them, what doesn't drive them.
Interesting. Okay, so once you have people identified, what's the next step in the journey?
That's a good question, man. That's where it gets a little interesting, because it's up to the expertise of the owner or the trainer to jump in. Mm-hmm. There's not, if anyone comes to you and says, there's one way to motivate people, and I tried it at my gym and it works.
Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot, by the way. There's always one way, the one way to do it.
Only one way. Anyone that says there's one way hasn't looked at any other ways. That's all I know. I know less the more I learn, right?
Agreed.
So here's what I like to do. Actually, let me share a quick story because I think this will help a lot of people that are managing staff. Mm-hmm. So I thought McDonald's,
good point, because this applies big time to staff.
Lots of people out there. Is it majority of the community at the network?
Well, it's the network is full of owners and some head coaches, gym managers. But what I mean is that the motivation factor or challenge for a lot of gym owners is not just motivating their members. It's actually motivating staff to go above and beyond. This is a big sticking point because so many people in the fitness industry, coaches who are coaching classes are part-time and they're kind of in for an hour or two and they're out, and getting them to be motivated and participate at the level necessary to deliver a high caliber experience for the members and make people really feel like these people care. And it's like, not like, hey, I'm done with my class, I'm zipping out the back door. It's a huge challenge. It's a big problem for a lot of gym owners, and they can't seem to hack that. So I'd actually love to dig into that for a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah. And I haven't thought about that as much, but this will 100% apply to that scenario if you do it right. All right. So this is back at the corporate days. This is nerdy stuff. So okay. I was a director at McDonald's for a number of years. And I remember, I'm not super old now, but I was even younger then. And I remember coming in and I have this team of 18 people around the globe that I'm trying to manage. And I wanted them to do all this crazy stuff, right? We were going to put new strategies in place. We were going to change all the old ways of doing stuff. And we were going to be more modern and progressive, all the things that, McDonald's has been talking about, but we wanted to do it for, supply chain and sourcing stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with a colleague and I said, all right, so here's what I'm thinking. We can, put them on these tough projects, but maybe offer them more vacation days when we're all done. And I know some people want to get promoted, so let's start looking at what other opportunities are for them to do something here and then jump to the next group. Mm-hmm. And she's just kind of like staring almost dead eye at me like, she was humoring me. I like your ideas, that's cool, but you know what people actually want? I said, doesn't everybody want the same thing? Don't they want a better job and more money? She's like, no, man, do you want that? And I said, no, I want to have some balance, right? I want to pursue the Olympics and have time with my family and, work on interesting projects with unique people. She's like, see, you haven't even thought about what you want, let alone trying to motivate people outside of you. Yeah, I'm an idiot, right? I learn very hard most of the time. And she's like, look, try this out. And she gave me a 1-page sheet. I did write an article about this. It was more for like an online trainer that kind of has a digital organization, mm-hmm. but I think you might be able to use it if you find it, Marcus. And this online sheet is an incentives form. And what it does is it says that, look, take 7 or 8 different incentives or rewards you could give somebody at your studio. Mm-hmm. It could be more pay, right? That's an obvious one. It could be more flexible hours. They don't want to work on weekends. Okay? It could be they want to work with better clients. Instead of giving them all the rookies, have them train athletes or something. And you list out these 7 or 8 different things, and you give it to your trainer at the gym or your staff member, or frankly, you could probably do it with a client, and say, force rank these. Force rank. They can't all be number 1. They're not all important. Pick 1 through 8. And what you do is you go back and you look at that form and say, okay, I get this now. This is what they're driven by. They're driven not by money. They want balance. And they want to have a better social media following, right? So they want maybe a bigger clientele of people they train in your gym so they can post about it and do all that stuff. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what I think you should do when it comes to motivating clients. Not just your trainers and staff. That would certainly work for them like you were talking about.
100%.
But yeah, you figure out what drives them. So first you look at their personality. The motivational personality is basically that sheet. Okay. These are the things that drive them. These are the things that are important to them. These are the things to watch out for. The second piece you should look at, though, is you need to figure out how motivated a person actually is at the moment, which can actually be done. It can actually be done. So I don't know if you want me to go into this in depth, but I can talk about it.
Please do. Go for it.
Okay. We created something called Motivational Charge because we just use motivation until we beat it to death, basically. I'm not a marketing guy. But we basically created this thing called Motivational Charge. And again, we went back to motivational psychologists and behavioral scientists to say, how do you measure motivation? And what they told us is there's a practice, it's a counseling practice called motivational interviewing, which I'm sure some trainers and owners know about out there. And motivational interviewing is a counseling practice that helps you actually gauge, quantify how motivated somebody is at a given moment to make a change. The formula you might have seen online is willing plus able equals ready. Okay. And what that means is if a person is willing, right, and willing usually means it's important enough in their life that they're willing to go through with it, and they're able, they have enough confidence, they think they can actually hit that goal, right? They're not saying, hey, I want to go to the Olympics and I've never picked up a bow before. That would be low confidence. If they're both willing and able, they're ready to make a change. So what we did is we took motivational interviewing, we blended it with an engagement algorithm, right, in our messaging application, and then we can quantify a client's motivation every single week. And it's fun, like it's kind of a game in a sense, but we used that same battery concept I was talking about before to take that, to dumb it down, right? Let's call it what it is. We're dumbing down the psychology aspect and turning it into something everybody can really understand, which is a battery charge, green, yellow, or red. So you know each week if they're charged or not. Green, essentially, I mean, it should be common sense, right? But green is a highly motivated person.
Right.
They've got an important goal that they think about all the time. They're pretty damn sure they can get it, and they're interacting and they're accountable for it. If they're green, if they're a current client, push them, right? They're ready to do something big. Get them into a new class. See if they want to join a trainer in your gym. They're a qualified lead if they're not a current customer. They are ready to buy. They're ready to subscribe. They're ready to take that first step. So that is a huge, usually say a red flag. This is a huge green flag. Look for those because those people are ready to make a change and do something positive with you. Yellow's in the middle, right? Yellow is a person that they're engaged. They have a goal. They're not quite sure if it's super important to them. It might be the member you work with that goes, yeah, I do want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. Right. It's ho hum. It's
But I'm not willing to change my diet, and I should be able to do that kind of coming in maybe 2-3 days a week, right?
That's exactly the person, right? They're in the middle of the pack because of that indifference.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have a really important goal. Let's get serious for a minute too. Maybe they're diabetic and they really need to change their eating plans and get in better shape. They know it's critical because it's important to their health and living and having a happy, long life, but they're not confident yet. They don't know how to get there. So they need someone's help to boost their confidence, show them the path they can take from here to there, and then they'd have more motivation. And if they're red, which is, the bottom of the spectrum, it means one of two things. Either they are truly unmotivated, they don't care about fitness right now, they don't have a goal that's important, they're really bottoming out on confidence in life, or they're checked out, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that will say they're going to do something, they sign up, and then they don't interact, they don't come back, and, that's life. But red means now is not the time, whatever you're trying to do.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me rewind for a second here. So we talked about check out what motivates them and their personality.
Right.
Then figure out how motivated they are at that moment. And that is the right second. That exact moment when you've checked out those two things, you now have the ability to start coming up with solutions.
Okay.
So before you jump to, let's put a cool leaderboard up in the gym, which I've seen and it works and it's nice. It's fun, right? Or let's go ahead and do that challenge for 30 days or do a drawing who can share our Instagram handle the most to win a subscription. Before you come up with those ideas to motivate, assess those two things. Let me try to do an example here with one, or we'll do it live. I don't know if this works or not.
All right.
I am a partial perfectionist +2, in case you guys are wondering who the hell I am. A bright shirt doesn't show it, but I'm a partial perfectionist +2, right? And there's some days I'm running low on motivation like everybody else. I'm in Gotivation. I check my charge every week. I'm pretty diligent about it. There's some days I'm just not feeling it. And my goal is to make the 2020 or 2024 or 2028 Olympics. And the last couple of weeks, the goal is still important to me, but I don't have the confidence right now because I haven't been putting in the hours of practice. I've been working a lot at business here. So what would you want to do for a partial perfectionist in your gym that's running low on motivation? Maybe like a social media post. A shout out would be pretty good. So if you remember, partial perfectionist, work hard, play hard. Mm-hmm. Play to their work hard attribute. So put up a social media shout out and be like, hey, we'll keep using me. Dennis, keep working hard. I love that you got a practice in. You came to the gym 3 times this week. You know, you're getting back on track. Keep kicking ass, man. And that'll fuel me. That'll get me excited again. If you want to play to the other half of the play hard coin, mm-hmm. you could say, hey, we're going to offer a 30-minute massage to any members that attend more than 15 times in a month. All right, so you're incentivizing them and you're motivating them with something that really appeals to, yeah, I like to relax. A massage sounds pretty great if they offer that service. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then if you work on a one-on-one with a trainer, this would be great coaching. If you're an owner right now that has a staff, a number of trainers, this is probably the best advice I can give you, because all the other ones are creative ideas you can come up with yourself. But this one is universal. So you might want to write this one down. If you're working one-on-one with a member, you basically have 2 different levers to play with to help either raise their charge or lower their charge if you screw it up. There is their goal and their confidence, right? Those are the 2 things you have to work with. We talked about that equation before. So have that goal discussion if you're not already doing it. I know it's pretty common out there, but have that goal discussion. Mm-hmm. And if they are not feeling confident enough to reach their goal, right? It's a big, wild ass ambitious goal. Scale it back, right? Put a couple of little micro steps in there. If it's not important to them anymore, you got to help them come to a more important reason, a more important why for their fitness and their health. Mm-hmm. And again, I am maybe 5% as good as the therapists and the psychologists out there. I will never be anywhere near as good or as smart as them. But the one thing they imparted on me was your clients and even your trainers, right? They need to come to this on their own. You're a coach, but you can't force it down their throat. Be like, well, it's okay. Just pick a different goal. Here's a goal that you'll like. And that backfires and it never works. You can guide them, but they got to settle on it themselves. So, yeah, that's I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, interesting you say that. Something I read many moons ago, I think the book was called Get Motivated by Tamara Lowe. I actually went and I saw her speak and General Colin Powell and a bunch of great speakers go and present on the concept of motivation. And that was actually the big takeaway for me too, was that at the end of the day, we're always thinking like, well, how can I motivate him or her? And it's like, you can't motivate them. You have to figure out how to get them to motivate themselves. And if you can figure out how to trigger that and what those mechanisms are to get someone to self-motivate, then you're going to actually get them to take ownership over that and move forward with it, right? It's like, it makes me think of a conversation I had yesterday where, when we're doing an intro process, right? So let's say we're doing an intro with a potential new member. One of the components I teach is the 3 W's, right? So what is it that you want to accomplish? Why does it matter to you? And the why piece is actually the most important part, right? And then the third is by when. But the why is the tricky part, because usually people will give you a pretty surface level answer to that. And it's, I think, because we've practiced that and we don't practice actually talking about the real why, because it's, I think, a self-protection mechanism, right? So when you ask someone like, hey, well, why don't you want to lose weight? And they're like, well, who doesn't want to lose a few lbs? It's like, you have to be able to peel the onion back a little bit further and get to a real why. And, you can ask questions like, well, how is that affecting your life? Or is this impacting you in any negative ways? And start to go down the rabbit hole a little bit and then have them, through their own explanations, tap into what that why is. And if you can get someone to say it out loud, and oftentimes for people, especially who are really deconditioned and having issues with their health and wellness, which we do get a fair share amount of that in the gym business, where people are like, yeah, I got to get off my heart meds or the diabetic thing. It's oftentimes the first time they're saying it out loud, but that is actually the trigger. if you can get that, now you have a real why to tie it to. And that real why is then what we build on when we go into the rest of it. All right, so I'm going to do prescription clothes in regard to like what we do. And hey, look, your goal was to lose 40 pounds by the time you go on that cruise in August. Okay, so that's like 9 months out. We 3-4 days a week work on nutrition. You can kind of reverse engineer, but you have to be able to build on using that why as part of the language. And that's really the art in it, is to be able to do that and not shoot yourself in the foot at the very end by misspeaking. And as you're saying this, I'm actually going to go through, I want to read all this stuff that you put together, because I think it'd be really cool to figure out, are there any better ways to ask certain questions or identifying questions to ask to say, this person may be in this category. I'm going to go down this version of questioning or framing for later on in the conversation to make sure I'm tapping into the motivational side, right? Rather than now demotivating them or scaring them. And they're thinking like, man, after hearing that, you're right. That's a huge undertaking and I'm not sure I'm up for it. It's like,
that sounds like a terrible idea. Why would I do that? Right?
And I've done that. I mean, that's happened to me, is where I think I've tapped into something with someone, and at the end they're like, man, thank you for that conversation. It's very clear to me now that I'm not ready for this. Like this is going to be a huge undertaking. And you're like thinking, crap, man, I know I can help you. But something about that conversation went sideways, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'm not, you're probably way better than me at it. And I think one of the crutches I use is we do it through Messenger, because I've tried to do it live before, and my wife will punch me in the face here, but I've tried to do the 5 whys. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like, okay, well, why do you want to do this? And they give you a very surface answer. You go, okay, that's interesting. Why do you want to do that? And by the 3rd why, I'm about to get punched in the face.
Right.
So I wouldn't recommend just following that to a T. It does not work well. But the concept makes sense.
Yeah, I actually teach go up to 3 in the inner when you're doing an intro, because oftentimes people, if you catch someone off guard and you go a little too deep, too fast, it can really make someone uncomfortable. And some people will say, well, that's good. You want to get that really deep why. But I think that by the 3rd one, you should have enough ammunition to be able to have a real conversation around why it matters to them. But in some cases, I mean, the 5 whys deal is, I think it's a good starting point. I think the point is that you've got to ask more than once or twice.
There's one other thing you just got me thinking about as we were talking through the whys. Whys are known by psychologists, again, they got nerdy terms for stuff, that they're known as abstract goals.
Okay.
And what's are concrete goals. So if someone comes up to you and they say, I want to lose 10 pounds, the thing that actually shocked me the most of everything I've done in the last year and a half, I learned that concrete goals actually have a negative impact on long-term fitness. So if someone comes to you and their goal is want to lose 10 pounds and your trainer goes, let's rock and roll, guys. Yeah, we got this. Let's do it. They're going to quit, because long-term goals are not supported by concrete goals. They're good for short-term. If they don't have that why, then they're not going to stick with it. So you got to get good at the why, because losing 10 pounds does not last long. It does not. They'll drop out.
Yeah, really good point. I think a lot of people get stuck, when they think like, oh, well, I do goal setting. I ask them what they want to do. And it's like, that's actually not the whole point of it. The point of it, like you said, you just got the surface level answer. And although that may seem like, well, I got the quantifiable goal, 10 pounds, add 25 pounds to my back squat, shave a minute off my mile, whatever that thing is, great. But I think you have to do the why first. You have to make sure you nail the why. Then you use little whats to move people forward, to actually create these little milestones to say, great, now we can make sure we're quantifying our progress. But it's always stemming from a larger zoomed out why, right?
I couldn't agree anymore. You nailed it.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to come work with you guys at Gotivation.
Come on in, man. We need the help.
No, I love this stuff, man. I think.
Bars.
What's that?
We like to work for cereal and protein bars. That's how we pay people. So.
Hey, me too. That works out great.
Fantastic. We're on the same budget.
Perfect. So yeah, it's just, I think, such a fascinating thing. We're in the people business, in the gym industry or in the fitness industry. At the end of the day, we're in the people business, and more specifically the relationship business. And, our goal as a gym owner isn't just to sell memberships. It's to build meaningful relationships with people that we can really change their life, and we want to change their life so they can be happier, healthier people and are better examples in their community and better examples for their kids. And, that's how we create our ripple effect. And, I think I don't think enough people spend enough time focusing on the psychology aspect of what it is that we do and how can I build better relationships? How can I get someone to self-motivate more efficiently and it not just be a total roll of the dice where it's like, hey, I tend to turn some people on and I turn some people off and I can't really figure out what it is. But there's science behind that. And doing some research around specifically motivation and the type of work that you've done, I think is a massive advantage. Because yes, we need to learn how to teach a squat well and how to run a class well and to run finance and sales and marketing and all that. These are all the aspects that are, like you said in the beginning of the show, these are the foundational aspects. It's like saying at a restaurant, like we got to make sure our food is good. It comes out hot. It comes out in a reasonable amount of time, that our waiter's not an a-hole. And so on. Like, those aren't like, hey, check it out, we're doing a great job. It's like, hey, good job, you're allowed to work in the restaurant industry. Right? Now it's like, where's the wow factor? And I think that the wow factor for us in the gym business is getting people to continually stay motivated and get past these sticking points that they've fallen off before. Temporary motivation versus long-term motivation. And being able to tap into that, whatever that system is with them or that mechanism for them, to continually keep moving them forward so they don't just achieve that goal, but they redefine their relationship with health and fitness, and it becomes their own thing to now, they're going to now be able to self-motivate and move forward.
It's such a mutually beneficial practice too, right? If you think of the industries that if they're not doing what we're doing, right? They're selling alcohol or cigarettes or, just garbage online. They're trying to motivate people to do things that are shitty and are not good for them.
Right.
In the fitness world, if you're motivating somebody, you're motivating them to change their life, to be in better shape, right, to be healthier, to be happier, and then you actually get a customer out of it too. It's so mutually beneficial to do this versus a lot of other areas. It seems silly not to give it a shot or learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it goes back to the same reason a lot of coaches have a bad relationship with selling, and they are like, well, I'm not in this business to sell memberships and all that. It's like, I get that notion, but you're in this business to help people. This is you interviewing people and them interviewing you to see if you can actually help them. They came to you because they actually have a pain point that got so overwhelming that they said, crap, I can't beat this by myself. I'm willing to go to a more expensive training facility to get some legit help. Like, please convince me to get this. They're asking for your help, right? And that's all that is. And again, it all comes back to understanding someone, meeting them where they're at, and being able to authentically, not you motivate them, but have them tap into what motivates them, right? Through that conversation. So this has been awesome stuff, man. So I guess do you have anything else that you want to cover around this topic, or what would be an action item for someone? Is that you guys, I think you said you offer a free trial at Gotivation.co for people to go and check this out. If this is interesting, I encourage you to go do it. Go check out the blog. Lots of good posts on there. I guess what would be the one piece of advice you would give to a gym owner listening to this?
Whatever you do, find a way to build those relationships and motivate people outside of your studio or your gym, right? Find whatever mechanism that is, whether it's Gotivation, whether it's your Instagram page, whether it's some other cool app you've got. Just remember, people are outside of your gym a lot, and if you want to have them motivated and you want to build that relationship, you got to find that connection point. That they're not going to be in your door all day long.
Yeah, they don't. Unlike what a lot of people think, a lot of gym owners think it's like they come for class and it's all they're thinking about is the gym when they're not there. It's like they're actually not.
We've got lots of stuff going on in life, but
yeah, exactly.
It's a nice wish.
So anyway, well, awesome advice, man. And if you're watching this, by the way, live, I know there's a little bit of latency in here today. So if you got any questions, fire them in the comments here below. And if you're catching this after the fact, put the comments, still ask your questions. We'll always address them after the fact. We've got Dennis added here to the network. He'll be in here to answer questions for you as well. Obviously if you're catching this on YouTube, join the network, ask the questions there and we can answer them for you. So if you've got anything, fire away now. In the meantime, where can people find more about you, Dennis?
Sure. So you can go to Gotivation.co. I've got a few articles out there and blog posts about me. If you want to connect more professionally, if you're into that nerd stuff, go to LinkedIn. You can find me there. And the other thing is, we're a small team, so I invariably get pulled into a lot of onboardings and customer support. Everybody knows how that goes, owner-operators out there. So if you do have questions when you're getting started, because this is a very new concept, send me a message. I'm happy to hop on the phone or do a Zoom call or something like this and give you some tips that work.
Awesome, man. Well, Dennis, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, man.
Likewise,
Enjoyed
buddy.
this stuff. This is something I'm personally very interested in, and I think that a lot of people in the industry can benefit massively from the information that we shared here today. So I encourage you guys watching this, go check it out. Go check out Gotivation, and at very least, just see what this is all about and see if you can glean anything from this, or check out the show notes at gymwright.com for this episode. We'll break everything down for you with milestones and links and everything. So in case you're having trouble hearing or understanding what I'm saying, just click on the links and we'll get you where you need to go. But anyway, I want to thank you, Dennis. Thank you again so much for taking the time and sharing with our community today. You're doing great work. Pleasure having you on, and we'll see everybody here again next week.
Anytime, Marcus. Keep up the great work at Gymwright.
Thank you so much, brother. Bye-bye.
Thanks.